Well, if you missed yesterday's live stream, I'm actually going to do a little bit of an update, especially concerning Italy. And we also didn't really talk a lot about the Oscars because honestly, who gives a fuck? Most of these movies I end up watching on DVD or on Netflix or whatever. If I do that, if I do it all, I've probably been watching less movies than ever right now. Probably because I've been working a lot more, and even in free time on things like this. And generally, you're seeing the people who do show up and appear at the Oscars, or people who even watch the Oscars, are very disconnected to the undercurrents that are happening in society. So um, I think that there is a real um, such a disconnect right now between those people that tuned in yesterday, while essentially, for all intents and purposes, what was it? Vesuvius erupted in Italy. Basically, the and I'm not talking literally. I'm talking figuratively. There was a populist volcano in Italy. That's what I call it. And people are saying no to immigration. They're saying no to high taxes. They're saying no to state control of everything. They want more transparency. They want less of a bureaucracy in their way. There's really, um, I think that it just shows that what happened in the United States in 2016, what happened in Britain, by the way, also in 2016, that the liberals still don't get when it happens elsewhere. And they probably didn't care because they were preparing for their big party, their night where they show how much they're better than us. And there were plenty of videos I saw, people making fun of the fact that these people have armed security, and a lot of them were, they were hosting, or they were featuring like a lot of this Me Too stuff, there was there was a feature from at the beginning where they at the monologue that Jimmy Kimmel was talking about sexual harassment and objectification and everything. Listen, the the Oscars long ago lost the right to talk about anything like this. It's a it's a joke. The Oscars have been a representative of a very closed section of society. It's the Academy Awards. Why is it called the Academy Awards? Because it's not. It's chosen by a select few. I think it's a chamber of 500 people. By mail. So it isn't really a chamber even. And they choose who are the best picture and who's the best actress and whatever they vote on it. And essentially, everybody's known for years that the Oscars is uh, just an event where the elite give praise to other people within the elite. It's almost like the Freemasons of entertainment. Then you do have to contrast that to the European or Italian election, where you have proportional representation in many of these. I think part of the Chamber of Deputies and the Senate is chosen proportionally, and the other part is chosen by district. There's two very good methods for choosing the next parliament of Italy, and I think that the American people who have been ignorant of this for so many years, who don't know what's been going on in Italy for years. Well, don't feel bad, because the people at the top of society are just as ignorant, if not even more ignorant, than the people, workaday people who don't have the time to pay attention to what's going on in Europe. Okay, one could be forgiven for not paying attention to Italian politics. It's not as if Italy is one of the main partners of the United States or anything. We don't talk. We don't have daily updates of what's going on over there in any case, um, and therefore, you know, I think people can be forgiven for not knowing about it. I think, however, that the whole notion that the United States is the dumbest country because they elected Trump or whatever, it has to be finally thrown into the garbage now. First of all, it's not up to you to decide how intelligent people are because they voted for somebody that you don't like. Because Donald Trump, to be honest with you, the person who facilitated his election the most was Hillary Clinton. It was her who did all of the things that caused many of us who might not have supported Donald Trump to begin with to say, you know what, fine, yeah, screw this, we'll vote for him. We'll take Donald Trump over Hillary Clinton. And few of us have buyer's remorse given the trade off for that. If we would have gone back in time and put Hillary Clinton into office, I think few people would say, "Oh, yeah, that would have been a better outcome." No, um, you can see this. She's somebody who's completely refused to take responsibility for anything. Let's see if she even commented on Italy anyway. I know Donald Trump commented on the Oscars. So Hillary Clinton, March 3rd, saw Bill. Her last tweet was saw Black Panther with Bill this afternoon and loved it. Beautiful film, lots of action, and a great message. Don't miss it. What are you talking about? What's the Actually, you can direct message her, but forget it. I'm not gonna. I'm not going to. And then you get the replies here. Somebody wrote, "I don't think Donald and Melania have ever seen a movie together, so this was nice to hear." What the hell does that have to do with anything? Um, and then you have all these people trolling her. Somebody's trying to get her to join the Black Panther challenge, where you pay for a bunch of black kids to go see the movie. People are, oh god, that's pretty gruesome. Complaining about the World Cup being in Russia. Well, the World Cup was voted to be in Russia under Barack Obama, so there's nothing that it doesn't have anything to do with Hillary Clinton. But I have here for Market Watch, by the way, they're saying that the Italian election poses an existential threat to the Eurozone. Um, it says preliminary results from Sunday's vote indicate around half of the voters cast their ballot in favor of anti-establishment parties, Five Star Movement, and Lega, formerly Lega Nord, while the mainstream parties suffered a drop in support. However, with 98% of the vote counted, neither has managed to win an outright majority. That indicates a hung parliament and political gridlock that could leave Italy in limbo for months as parties wrangle over possible coalitions. The inconclusive results sent Italian stocks sharply lower on Monday, with the FTSE MIB index, that's the Italian stock market, down 1.3%. And then they're talking about all these bonds and whatever. Analysts braced for tough negotiations ahead and warned the messy result could soon lead to new elections. Here's a roundup of the initial comments. After 2017 ultimately proved benign for Eurozone political risk, the unexpected strong performance of the Five Star Movement brings these threats very much back to the forefront. Although M5S officials have toned down anti-Euro rhetoric in recent months, the Euroscepticism within the bloc could ultimately reintroduce the existential threat to Eurozone stability long thought diminished. Forming a government has many challenges, but this result could dent the strong consensus support the euro currently enjoys. Italian bond spreads also have scope to widen modestly from current levels. Um, it also says it may take months of tortuous negotiations to form a government, which apparently will need to be backed by one of the two big radical parties, the Five Stars or the Eurosceptic Lega. The tail risk that Italy may be heading for a Euro referendum remains low. Still, it is not zero. The result will force parties of very different persuasions to compromise. That makes truly radical outcomes unlikely. This is Holger Schmeling and Karsten Hess. So these are These are economists in Germany, etc. Um, but it's not just about the euro. The problem with what's going on with these liberal media people is that they don't get that Italy has been it's basically been under siege from immigration from North Africa and the Middle East. Its social services are going down. They're seeing the character of their country, which Italy is well known to have a very strong culture. Although it's not one culture. Italy's culture is kind of heterogeneous across the length of the country. There's a very different culture in southern Italy, in Sicilia and Sardinia and Calabria than there is up in the north in places like what do you call it, Lombardia. But the point here is that regardless of what part of the country, there was a distinct act of rebellion yesterday. Okay, we have um, in many of these areas, you see the left just completely fell apart. Let me show you this map if I can get it to work. Gonna have to mute something, but here. So you can see here that I think this was the result from last election. But you can see in the, damn it, I want to scroll up. Here we go. Here's the parliament. So I'll explain it. So on the left you have Liberty and Equality. They're the far left party. They have only 3.3%. Then you have the center left coalition, 23.1%. That includes the Democratic Party and Plus Europa or Più Europa, who are the most pro-EU party. Then you have the Five Star Movement, who are the most anti-EU party. Then you have the Lega and the center right coalition here, which is Forza Italia and Fratelli d'Italia, who are they're basically the other coalition that's possible. Now, to tell you the truth, a lot of the Italian right, for example, the Forza Italia party over here, they are still not anti-EU, but they're not enough of a block that the pro-EU parties to block leaving the European Union. It says I'm free translating here, but the Five Star Party was the winning party in the chamber. Actually, I don't think I can actually translate this. It obtained 32.5% of the vote, up from 25.6% in 2013. So there's really no way to frame this without acknowledging that the Italian people chose this Eurosceptic party as opposed to people who want to keep doors open for immigration and etc. And what's ironic is yesterday at the Oscars, you had this speech. It was Lupita Nyong'o. So Lupita Nyong'o and Kumail Nanjiani, they honored the Dreamers. This is what people can't stand. I have the video up, but there's no volume because I can't feature the audio anyway on here. It just won't work. But they, they went up there and they talked about how they're immigrants and whatever, and that's all well and good. And I think Nanjiani, for example, I've heard a little of his comedy. It's not bad, but it's nothing to write home about. And then Lupita Nyong'o has been in a number of movies. I don't remember which was the movie I saw with her that was the one that really sticks in my mind. But there's there's really nobody wants to tune in to an entertainment show, a show about film, and just get um, consistently preached at about stuff that has nothing to do with entertainment. So she wasn't Black Panther, by the way, for those of you that are gonna put that in. But that's not the movie that I remember her most from. I think the one that I saw her in. I don't think I've seen any of these movies. Whatever, you know. It could be I saw her in The Force Awakens. Yeah, that's about it. Because I did see that in theaters. But the bottom line is that this is a person. She's the daughter of Kenyans. Um, one of them was a college professor. They left Kenya in 1980. They went to Mexico, and and she considers herself to be Kenyan Mexican, which is fine or whatever. But look, the fact that you had to leave Kenya, which was a free country since the 50s, because of political unrest there, and move to Mexico, and then you move here. Uh, I would say this, um, you know, you don't have you can come here and you can work here and you can have success here, but that doesn't mean that we have to agree with everything you have to say. And Nanjiani or whatever his name is, that guy too. Uh, his I think his breakout comedy was The Big Sick or something. Yeah. So that was like heavily promoted in the past couple years, and or well, not the past couple years, like last year. And good for him for making a film that was okay and that had a message, but his example does not represent the example of most immigrants from Pakistan and the Muslim world. Okay, it says here he was born in Karachi, Pakistan. He was raised as a Shia Muslim, but now identifies as an atheist. Well, fine. I mean, I'd like to see you go to Pakistan today and identify as an atheist as strongly as you do here, because it's not going to work very well. The idea of having a country with freedoms, with a Bill of Rights, with a constitution, it hasn't worked out in Pakistan, which, by the way, did try to do it due to their British roots, but it's come apart. It's regressed into becoming more and more of a theocracy. Kenya, I think, is not as bad, but they've had their share of political unrest over the past 15 years, I think. So, there's these people that they go up to the podium during the Oscars, and they're probably told that we are here to use our influence in this industry in order to project upon the rest of society and have them believe as we believe. Well, there's a huge flaw in that. Okay, and I don't know anything about Nanjiani personally, or obviously I've never met him, and neither have I met Lupita Nyong'o or Jimmy Kimmel. But they have to process the fact that people don't relate to them anymore. Jimmy Kimmel's show, for example, the Man Show, back in the day, that was a show that people could relate to because it did have a populist message. The message of chauvinism and wanting to see leggy girls with huge huge jugs that were jumping on trampolines. That was his show. That's not me talking about something that didn't happen. His show would end every time with just girls jumping on trampolines. That was the gimmick of the show. And in since then, he's pretty much sold his soul to become just another preachy comedian. It's the same with Jim Jeffries. It's the same with a lot of these other people they get that big gig on prime time. Jimmy Fallon, not as bad, but Stephen Colbert, all these people they come out and they host these events where they're talking to other people who are major players in the entertainment industry. Look, you can have your shows and your comedies and whatever, and crack your jokes, but when the show ends, when the lights turn off, people are under no illusion that you're not going back to a two-bedroom house in the middle of Iowa. Shout out to Dave Murphy, but or in what is it, Pascagoula, Mississippi. You're not going to back to a reality where you have to pay the bills or balance a checkbook or anything. Most of these things are actually done by assistants or accountants and a staff that handles what you do. Maybe you don't have a whole staff at your whim, but you probably have a lot of these things taken care of by people that are, they're basically paid minders of yours. And that's why, we as Americans, we've tuned out these shows, we've tuned out these award ceremonies, and this isn't final numbers, but I'm not sure that it'll change. It says Oscar ratings are down, all-time low in early estimates, and this is from March 5th. This is from today. It was an Oscar do-over last night for host Jimmy Kimmel, producers Mike DeLuca and Jennifer Todd, and Best Picture presenters Warren Beatty and Faye Dunaway, following last year's envelope gate, which led to Beatty and Dunaway inadvertently announcing a wrong Best Picture winner. The quartet's second go-around went without a hitch. The good news did not carry over to ratings for the 90th Academy Awards, which correctly crowned The Shape of Water as Best Picture. Another movie that I'm probably never going to see. I think that's a movie about a woman who has sex with a merman, which is the male version of a mermaid. Last night's ceremony drew a 18.9 live plus same-day rating in the metered market households. That was off 16% from last year's 22.4 rating, which was a 9-year low. So it's already 16% worse as of right now than the Oscars from 2017, which was already an all-time low, or a 9-year low. It says the 18.9 appears to be an all-time low for the Oscars, below the previous low ratings point logged for the 2008 telecast hosted by Jon Stewart when No Country for Old Men won the Best Picture. I'm assuming that was an all-time low because of the, some of the economic crap that was going on, but I could be wrong. That, despite the fact that The Shape of Water was the highest grossing Best Picture winner in 5 years. Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure a lot of people went to watch that movie. I've probably heard about it 2 or 3 times, and that's it. Last year, the 22.4 metered market rating translated to 13.9 million viewers, also a 9-year low, and a 9.1 rating among adults 18 to 49. We will update with viewership and demo numbers when they become available later today. The best that Hollywood's Big Night has done in the first round of ratings over the past decade was back in 2005. That show, hosted by Chris Rock, got a 30.1 metered market households. Clint Eastwood's $1 Million Baby won Best Picture that year, and the broadcast went on to score 42.1 million viewers in the final number. With 12 Years a Slave winning Best Picture, the 2014 Oscars, fronted by Ellen DeGeneres, drew the biggest overall audience of the 21st century, with 43.7 million tuning in. So that's 27.9%. So overall, and with this I'll close, their audience is dwindling. People aren't paying attention to what they say. Nobody cares about anything. A lot of these movies, people don't even know what the hell they're about. I saw that one of them was, what was this called? Call Me by Your Name. So, that movie was pretty disturbing for a lot of people because it basically depicts a a pedophilia relationship, a pedophile relationship between a man and a adolescent teen or whatever. In any case, um, yeah, I would say that these movies and the movie stars that are starring in them, people know that they're they're gradually skewing into a category of what do you call it? Preachiness of standing there and telling people what to think, and they're doing it in less subtle ways all the time. The when To Kill a Mockingbird was made, I'm assuming that when the movie came out, you didn't have all these celebrities standing around and saying, "Hey, look at us, look at us, look at us, we're fantastic," or whatever. They put the movie out. They stood behind the message in it. There were a lot of these movies in the '60s and '70s that were groundbreaking, but eventually they lost their touch. What was the one, In the Heat of the Night? That's a fantastic one with Sidney Poitier. And they did cause a lot of changes in attitudes in America, but those changes in attitudes don't mean that you keep making the same movies that try to cause the same thing, because eventually people have adapted already to the world after To Kill a Mockingbird and In the Heat of the Night. Segregation ended. A lot of the legal restrictions against civil rights ended. So people don't need to be reminded, and you don't have to beat a dead horse about it all the time. And that's pretty much what they're missing in the Oscars. So that's it. We'll talk later. We'll see if there's going to be an article coming out today in Hard News by me, possibly a live stream on Hard News later this week. Check out my video on Trofim Lysenko. That's already in the description below. And other than that, have a great Monday.